Going now to a team that I've said since the offseason, do not believe, and now I'm extremely, extremely confident, will not make the playoffs, especially in an AFC that is just littered with young, talented franchise quarterbacks. The New England Patriots are not going to make the playoffs this season. I mean, I think it's fairly obvious. A lot of Patriots reporters, who cover this franchise for a living, they've been at these practices. And just to sort of set this up before I read what they've been reporting. The New England Patriots, and I talked about this, was it 2-3 months ago when Belichick made the announcement, they don't have an offensive coordinator. They're essentially going to do this thing by committee. And you're like, okay, maybe that could work, right? I mean, there's some teams out there where it's sort of like a working relationship, sort of a duo between the head coach. Let's say the head coach is an offensive guy. Say he was a former offensive coordinator, and then the offensive coordinator on the team, right? They sort of work in tandem. No. That's not what New England's doing. Okay. They don't have a single offensive coach running the staff for the offense. They've got a special teams coach in Joe Judge, which we saw that turned out in New York with the Giants in his short tenure as the head coach, a special teams coach running the offense, along with a defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia. That's who's running the offense, folks. We're having a defensive coordinator and a special teams coordinator be the offensive coordinator. You can't make this stuff up. Okay, so now that I've set this up, here's what some of these Patriots reporters who are at practice, they're watching every single day. This is what they're saying. So this guy, Phil Perry, who's a reporter in New England, he tweeted, quote, offense looks broken, can't protect, losing one-on-ones, blitz is getting through, no run game, miscommunication on routes, just to name a few. Mike Reese, a thought after watching the Patriots offense look efficient in 7-on-7, but struggle notably in multiple 11-on-11s. Might be time to give Dante Scarnecchia a call for an independent evaluation. For those of you that don't know, Dante Scarnecchia was the longtime offensive line coach of the Patriots. Phenomenal coach. He left a year or two ago. And so he's saying that he probably needs to bring this guy in to help out. But I love this tweet because it says, a thought after watching the Patriots offense look efficient in 7-on-7, but struggle notably in multiple 11-on-11s. Well, bad news for the Patriots. 11-on-11 is football. Okay. Unless we're doing, what is it? Didn't Tecmo Bowl, remember the game where Bo Jackson was like unstoppable? The arcade game. Was Tecmo Bowl 7-on-7? I can't remember. But I mean, there's some football video games, and there's like camps, these 7-on-7 camps, that's really geared towards helping quarterbacks and receivers improve and develop. That's not the NFL. Okay. That's not football in general. The sport is 11-on-11. Basketball's 5-on-5. Baseball is essentially 9-on-1. It's bad news for the Patriots. Every game they play this year, it will be 11 versus 11. I hate to break that to them. So that's a little concerning. Let's see. Zach Cox, who works for the New England Sports Network, he tweeted, quote, Mac Jones took the first 20 reps in 11-on-11 drills, staying in even after the Patriots rotated out their offensive line regulars. And it's been ugly. A quarter of those reps resulted in a sack or a scramble, and all 6 completions were within a few yards of the line of scrimmage. Okay, so clearly the offensive line is really not holding up. And Tom Curran, one of the more well-known reporters in the Boston, New England area, he tweeted, quote, the Patriots' number one offense today has been distressingly bad. Run stuffs, aborted plays, would-be sacks, distressed lobs into traffic just to get the ball out. Beginning to feel it's less the new offense and more the post-Scarnecchia cycle of offensive line coaches. They are perpetually overwhelmed. And that is the New England Patriots offense, ladies and gentlemen. Football is really funny. Sports is really, this is why I love sports. This is why I love doing this show. Because what's great about sports that most other, entertainments, forms of entertainment really bring you or don't bring you. Football, more than any other sport, is so freaking unpredictable. And the quote unquote football gods have a great sense of humor. Because for anyone who's listened to the show for any significant amount of time, Y'all know I was not big on Mac Jones in college at Alabama, although he did play well his last season there before he entered the 2021 draft. I said that easily out of the 5 first-round quarterbacks taken in 2021, he had the lowest ceiling and had the least chance to be a franchise quarterback. And I still hold very strong to that today. And I said after he was drafted, I said, number one, there's a reason he was taken after Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields. There's a reason for that. And I said part of the reason I don't think he's going to have a great NFL career is because of where he ended up, New England, who is not exactly known for having great offensive schemes, at least since the departure of Tom Brady in 2020. I think this season, unless the New England Patriots get their you-know-what together offensively, you're going to see, and I never thought that these words would come out of my mouth, you're going to see me defending Mac Jones a lot this season. Because while I still don't think he's a franchise quarterback, and while I think if his career pans out perfectly, he's Jimmy Garoppolo. As I've always said, he's a poor man's Jimmy Garoppolo. That all being said, how can I knock him given that he has to deal with this? I already said all offseason the Patriots receiving core is terrible. It's terrible. It's awful. And you add to the fact that they lost J.C. Jackson defensively to the Patriots, and they've always been bad about this. They don't pay anybody. They don't. And the guys that they do pay, they overpay. Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith. Okay, Matthew Judon probably got a little too much money, even though he was fairly productive a season ago. But then they let a top 3 corner in football, J.C. Jackson, just walk out the back door and sign with the Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, and they have, all kinds of cap space, and they won't keep maybe the best player in their team. I can't with a straight face, and he'll have bad games. Trust me, there'll be some critical shows of Mac Jones, here on Carving It Up. I can't really rip him, considering he has to deal with this. And it all stems back, once again, to Belichick's arrogance. Because, and it's something that you don't see from a lot of really smart people, especially smart, successful people, insecurity. Belichick's a made man. He's got 6 Super Bowl rings. Actually, he's got 8 rings because he was the defensive coordinator for the Giants years ago. He won 2 Super Bowls there, but as a head coach, he's got 6 rings. Many, not me, many consider him the greatest coach of all time. He's a made man. He doesn't have a coach another game in his life, and he is obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the all-timers, one of the faces of NFL coaching history. And I've always said I think he's probably the greatest defensive coach of all time. But he's got to show you, now that Brady's left, and I think especially after Brady won a Super Bowl, literally right after he left New England in Tampa, of all places, I think Belichick's saying, I got to prove to you I'm a genius. I can win. Watch this. I can win losing my best defensive player this offseason, having a receiving core that is probably the worst in football, and having an offensive coaching staff that's run by defensive coaches and special teams coaches. I can win with that. It's kind of sad, the fact that such a great career is going to end in somewhat sort of an average spot in the NFL. What are the Patriots, a 7-win team, at best an 8-win team? I mean, look at New England's schedule. Matter of fact, I'll pull it up on my phone real quick. The end of their schedule is ridiculous. Okay, let's see if I can pull this up right here, because it's, like I said, it is crazy. By the way, the Patriots do play a preseason game tonight. Mac Jones and the starters will not play. The end of the Patriots schedule, okay? So they play the Jets November 20th. After that, on a short week, they play the Vikings on the road. You know I like Minnesota to win the NFC North. They play the Vikings on the road. They play the Patriots at home. They go to Arizona, a possible playoff team. They go to Vegas, a possible playoff team. They play the AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals at home. They play the Dolphins, who are kind of a bubble playoff team at home, and then they go to Buffalo. There's a chance they may lose every single game down the stretch. I will be nice and say they win at best 2. You can't win in today's NFL with a limited quarterback, with a bad receiving core, with a declining offensive line, with a defense that absolutely got worse in the offseason, and best of all, defensive and special teams coaches coaching offense. You can't win like that, especially in 2022. This is one of the rare instances, forgetting football, just in business in general, where a extremely intelligent, extremely successful individual feels the need to show you and tell you how smart they are. It doesn't happen much, but it is right now, I think, with Bill Belichick. I think Tom leaving and being successful, not just being successful, winning a Super Bowl in year 1 in a pandemic year. That kind of drove the point home. And so to me, there is no way that the Patriots are a playoff team this year. Let me look at the AFC. Okay, let's look at the AFC real quick. Let's go division by division. AFC West, we all acknowledge, is probably the best division in football, right? Because you got the Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders, and Chargers. We're all in unison in that we think 3 of those teams will get in. 3 of the 4 teams will get in. My view, I think it's going to be Denver, Kansas City, and LA. I think the Raiders are the odd team out. You can maybe convince me into the Raiders and convince me out of, say, the Chargers, but I think Kansas City, Denver are absolutely in, and I think the Chargers are the last team out of that division in. So that's 3 spots. That's almost half the playoff teams right there out of one division. Okay? So you got to have, let's not even predict division winners in the North and the South. Somebody's got to win the AFC North. Somebody's got to win the AFC South. That's 5 playoff teams. So now you got 2 spots left. We know New England is not beating Buffalo for the AFCs. Buffalo is a legit Super Bowl contender. Many people think they're the favorites to get to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. With their weapons, with their improved defense, with that quarterback, New England has 0 chance of competing for Buffalo for that division. That's 6 teams. Now you got 1 spot left. Okay, let's just say, for the sake of argument, let's say my prediction comes true that the Ravens win the AFC North. You still have Cincinnati. I mean, they did, after all, just make the Super Bowl. You still have, Cleveland's a tumultuous situation, but that is still a very talented football team. And Pittsburgh, people keep bad-mouthing Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin never had a losing season, made the playoffs last year with a very limited quarterback and Ben Roethlisberger at the end of his run. New England doesn't beat those 2 teams out, those 3 teams out. Maybe they beat Cleveland out, maybe. But just, don't forget the fact that Belichick is what? A game over, let's see, 17, 9, yeah, he's a game over 500 since Brady left. But that's your game right there. And so I truly don't. There are teams in both conferences that maybe you could convince me get in. Again, like the Raiders in the AFC, I love Derek Carr. And Devontae Adams is the best receiver in football. I think they got better this offseason. The crappy part for the Raiders is they play in easily the toughest division in football and probably the greatest division of all time when you consider quarterback play exclusively. But you could convince me the Raiders are a playoff team. You could probably convince me Tennessee gets in. That's another team New England has to compete with, Tennessee. Okay, in the NFC, you could maybe convince me that Philadelphia gets in, or that maybe I'm big on that Green Bay's not making the playoffs, but it is Aaron Rodgers. You could convince me Green Bay gets in. I truly don't see a scenario in which New England gets in. In all the positions that matter in the NFL in 2022, they are very limited at or bad at. They're bad at wide receiver. Their offensive line is declining after the retirement of Dante Scarnecchia a couple of years ago. We know their quarterback is limited, and their defense got worse. And the coaching staff is, especially in the offensive side, is a joke. You're telling me this team's going to make the playoffs. So the really funny irony, and I get a kick out. I mean, I don't root against anybody. Like, I don't root, I'm not big on Mac Jones coming out of the draft. I hope the kid succeeds. I don't ever root for somebody, especially a young person coming into the NFL. I don't root for them to fail. I just don't think he will succeed to the level that many out there think. But the NFL's a funny league, man. I'm probably be coming on the show quite a bit this season and defending Mac Jones because this is what he has to work with. I don't think he's going to pan out, but this season we're not really going to get the chance to see if he can pan out. So I do not think New England is a playoff team. I think they are a mess right now. Keep in mind, Patricia wasn't even a good defensive coordinator. We're supposed to think he's going to be a good offensive coordinator. Bill, he's earned too much. He's done too much for me to call him Bill. Coach Belichick, what are you doing? I don't get this one, man. Not at all. At all. See how it pans out, though. Because, yeah, I don't get it. Again, you look at how crazy this offseason was and all the major movements, free agency, trades, all of the teams that were, say, not great. Like Cincinnati, for example. The elephant in the room last year, I beat this drum as much as probably anybody in the national media. Probably more than anybody in the national media. That offensive line is about as bad as it gets. And we saw that throughout their playoff run, and we especially saw that in the Super Bowl. What did Cincinnati do? They improved. Right? They got Alex Kappa from the Bucs. They got Lyle Collins from the Cowboys. They addressed those needs. They got better in the offseason at their biggest weakness offensively. Right? Miami, they're not sure. I'm literally about to talk about Miami in just a second. They're like, okay, is Tua going to pan out? We're going to give him all the resources and find out. We give him, Teron Armstead, left tackle. We're going to give him Tyreek Hill. We're going to give him Cedric Wilson. We're keeping Mike Gesicki for another year. We saw what Jalen Waddle did last year, over 1,000 yards receiving. The defense is no joke. So we're saying, oh, here you go, Tua. The Patriots aren't even doing that with Mac Jones. At least give your core, even if you're maybe a little bit skeptical, at least give them a chance to see if maybe they prove you wrong. If you have doubts, let's really invest in this young quarterback, put all the resources around him that he needs, and see what happens. They haven't done that. Matter of fact, they got worse. So, yeah. Carving It Up will officially, for the 2022 season, be the Mac Jones defending show. And Lord knows I never thought that was going to be the case, but hey, here we are. It's the NFL. That's why I love it. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube. Be sure to click that big red subscribe button and go check out the other clips and full shows of Carving It Up Live. Have a blessed day.